Hey folks, it's the Poor Sports Seattle podcast, and there is big Mariners news. I'm sure you already know about it, obviously. If you're getting the news from this podcast, you've got problems in your life. But right before their game against the Angels yesterday, the Mariners made a trade for Josh Naylor, who is Arizona Diamondbacks first baseman, kind of. We'll talk about that. I, I'm gonna spoil part of this. I like this trade, but I've two things. I'm gonna. I don't hate it, but I don't actually set out to be the guy that's got the like anti vibes view of things. To be like the one dissenting voice. There's a lot of excitement from the Mariners fan base about Josh Naylor, and I'm gonna spoil it. I like the trade, but I don't think I like it as much or for all the same reasons that some of the other folks who are talking about it like it. And I guess to start with, what I'd like to talk about is just exactly who Josh Naylor is. And give me a moment. I've immediately right away I was like, let's knock this thing out quickly. We'll figure and then I immediately got the thing that I wanted to look at off the screen. Okay. This is Josh Naylor's Fangraphs, his Fangraphs page, and right away you'll see a guy the last 4 years, first baseman, who has been a 100 plus WRC plus guy for the last 4 years, topping out in a full season at 127 WRC plus and 2.7 wins above replacement in 2023 with the Cleveland Guardians. The year that followed, he had 31 home runs. And you might think to yourself, this guy's a power hitter. He's a big, thick, with two C's, thick guy that looks like he's got a. Guys like this are charming. Josh Naylor looks like a guy who works in like pharmaceutical delivery and wears like coveralls, and then every weekend he's going out to like a metal show. That works to live, baby. He's a guy that like looks very relatable to the average baseball fan, to the average non-professional athlete. I'm going to enjoy watching Josh Naylor. And in fact, again, I like this trade, but I want to look at a couple things because one, Naylor has a so this year he's posting a 12.4% strikeout rate, which is great. Uh let's go right into the Statcast. I have a Statcast page. He has a unique Statcast page for a guy of his size. Naylor is listed at 5'10", 235 pounds. And from that build, and 235, I don't know how many years ago they measured 235. I happen to be 5'10" ish. And let's just say I know what 235 pounds looks like on a 5'10" frame. Um, Naylor, he doesn't hit the ball hard. There's a reputation of Josh Naylor, I think, as a power hitter because he hit 31 home runs in a previous season. He doesn't hit the ball hard. His average exit velocity is 88.9 miles an hour, which is bottom half of the league. Barrel percentage, bottom half of the league. Hard hit percentage, bottom half of the league. Launch angle to sweet spot percentage, bottom half of the league. Bat speed, bottom half of the league. So we're going to bounce between a couple different Statcast pages for a second because I want to illustrate something that I think is not really in the public perception of Josh Naylor. By the way, Josh Naylor is a good hitter. I'm not telling you he's a bad hitter, but let's take a look at Luis Arias real quick because where Arias has strengths, I think are similar spots that Josh Naylor has strengths. High contact rate, but like low exit velocity, low barrel rate, low hard hit rate, launch angle to sweet spot ratio. Arias is actually a little bit better. Bat speed, Arias is crazy low. Naylor is swinging the bat almost 10 full miles an hour faster. So these aren't the exact same guy. I'm not telling you these are the exact same guy, but what I am telling you is that they get by on kind of the same thing. They both chase the ball out of the zone a lot, but they both make contact a lot. They strike out very infrequently. They swing and miss very infrequently. Oh, my dog is going nuts. Let's see why. All right, I heard a big boom outside. I think it's the garbage truck, but if you can hear my dog in the background, this is recorded in a home studio. I'm gonna have to go tell her to shut up. Uh so these guys, Jesus Christ, dog. These guys have very similar profiles in that their strengths are similar. I will say, Arias is on such a far extreme from a contact to power percentage. I'm not saying that these are the same guys. I'm certainly not saying that Arias would have the same impact in Seattle as I think Naylor will have. But I think when you think of Josh Naylor, you see this big guy who's put up decent power numbers in the past, and you go, well, this guy must hit the ball hard. Did you think that? Because he doesn't. I will level with you that I was watching a video yesterday about, this is the kind of sicko I am. I was watching a video about early indicators for prospect success. And one of the things they talked about was max exit velocity. So this is kind of like that in football. I've heard it said as like, if you could do it once, you can do it every time. We could teach you to do it every time. It's a similar concept, I would say, where if a guy has the capacity to have 117 WRC plus, there might be adjustments in his swing, not WRC plus, exit velocity. There might be adjustments that a team can make or that he can make that make that happen more often. But as it sits right now, despite what I'm getting to is Josh Naylor does have max exit velocity that's in the 117 is his max exit. That's good. That's very good max exit velocity. So swing speed is low. It seems like he's able to dial it up and be a guy that hits the ball harder, but he doesn't. And he's on a one-year contract. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's a free agent after this season. Is he the kind of guy that I think you would be interested in seeing the Mariners coaching staff mold out of? He's a great block of clay. You'd be interested in seeing what a team that's analytics focused, that understands kind of the maximum value of strikeouts versus power, and if there's maybe a middle ground that's slightly better, they might be able to find it. I do think that's interesting. But as of right now, the player that Josh Naylor is right now, we'll go back to his Savant page real quick. Bottom half, exit velo, barrel percentage, hard hit percentage, launch angle, sweet spots percentage, bat speed, chase rate, bad, but he makes contact when he chases. Now, is there potential for him to chase less and maybe get better pitches to hit? All this stuff is possible. But this is not, when you're trading for a guy at the end of July, you're not looking for a guy who you can reclaim into something. You're looking for a guy who can provide immediate value. And I don't think you're going to be able to completely revamp Josh Naylor in 2.5 months. Another thing about Josh Naylor, he's got 11 home runs this year, and he plays in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Chase Field is one of the most plays in a hitter-friendly ballpark. Chase Field, one of the most hospitable environments for hitters. It boosts offense by like 10 to 20%, depending on what the stat you're looking at is. In particular, it boosts triples because similar to Coors Field, where because the ball flies further, they make the fences further back, which means the outfielders have more ground to cover. So when you hit a ball over their head, it means it's a lot further away from third base, typically. So I don't think that triples are a factor for Josh Naylor, but T-Mobile Park, on the other hand, suppresses offense by about 10%. So if you imagine there's going to be like a 20% downswing, are you still happy with Josh Naylor? I equated it on Twitter last night to Jimmy Graham when he came to Seattle to play for the Seahawks. And by the way, not a good trade. The trade was not good, but the question of whether Jimmy Graham was good or not is a different question. Because I thought Jimmy Graham was good, but it was immediately obvious right away that he got like 20% of the target share in New Orleans, but there were so many targets. Drew Brees was throwing the ball like 600 plus times a year. And in Seattle, it was going to be a significantly fewer. There was the pie was smaller. So he may be getting an equal portion of the pie, and I think he did. I think he ended up getting about 20% of the target share in Seattle, but there was like 450, 400 pass attempts to go around. And I think similarly, Josh Naylor might be good in Seattle, and he won't meet the vibes. Because the vibes are the Mariners just acquired a first baseman who hits for power. And who is Josh Naylor? He's a guy that's 5'10", that's a bad defensive first baseman, that doesn't hit the ball hard. Sure, he's got some power numbers. I mean, he's a year removed from a 31 home run season in Cleveland, from a 213 isolated power. There's things about him that scream power hitter beyond just his appearance, but they don't scream very loud. If I was gonna handicap it, I don't know if I said this already, 11 home runs. He's hit 11 home runs. 2 of them have been no doubt home runs, meaning this is a stat that's kept home runs that would have been home runs in 30 of 30 ballparks. Cal Raleigh has 16. The league leader in no doubt home runs, by the way, is Josh Naylor's former and perhaps future teammate, Eugenio Suarez, who has 20. Which, by the way, if the Mariners acquire Suarez and put him in the same lineup as Cal Raleigh, having 2 of the 4, I think Cal Raleigh's ranked 4th, having 2 of the 4 leaders in no doubt home runs. Like I said it the other day when I was doing the midseason grades, the Mariners offense is good. I do think Naylor's an improvement. Again, I think that Naylor's an improvement, but you have to tilt your head more than you think, because he's not going to improve first base at defense or defensive first base. He's not going to get you away from your 5'10" first base options. On a team that's got a sound offense, he's probably DH only. And if he's DH only, the bat actually isn't so incredible. If he's first base only, the bat actually isn't so incredible. I'm going to show you the these are the StatCast most similar. These are like the comparison most similar batters to Josh Naylor. And this is not a super exciting list. Jonah Heim is a catcher. Addison Russell is middle infielder. David Peralta, corner outfielder in Arizona, by the way. Kevin Kiermaier, center fielder. AJ Pollock, I think center fielder, and then I think towards in this season he was probably a corner outfielder, would be my guess, but I'm not certain. I didn't actually go look at AJ Pollock. I was familiar for sure with the other guys. I think Pollock played a corner in 2022, but the point is these guys are all playing significantly more demanding, more valuable defensive positions. Now, if you put those guys' bats in a first baseman, how exciting is that? How exciting is it that would you want, if the Mariners had acquired 2019 Addison Russell to be their DH, would that be exciting to you? If you put it into that perspective, I don't think it's as exciting. I don't want to just throw cold water on it, because I do think that, again, I think that Naylor is going to be good, and we're going to talk about the guys that the Mariners gave up, and that makes the trade good to me overall. But I think that if you look at Naylor's stats and you look at the underlying StatCast stuff, unless the Mariners can do a quick overhaul of his swing, a quick overhaul of his philosophy, he starts swinging faster, hitting the ball harder, striking out maybe a little bit more, but he's got to, if he starts striking out more, he's starting at a very low point. So if he goes from 12 to 20% strikeouts, but starts swinging the bat harder and hitting the ball harder, it's probably worth it. There certainly is. I imagine there's an optimal middle ground between where he's at now and where harder swingers are that swing and miss a lot. But as of right now, this is the player that the Mariners have. if you reduce his, well, we'll talk about it in a second. Actually, let's talk about the guys the Mariners gave up, because I will say the number one thing across about this whole trade that I think makes it unarguably a positive. It's not that Naylor's an undeniable player. It's not that Naylor is certainly going to come in and be a decisive factor in the Mariners making the playoffs, in the Mariners making a World Series run. He certainly, I guess I'll say one last thing before we talk about the two prospects that the Mariners traded. I think there's probably value in having diversity in approach in your lineup. And I guess I feel this way about other sports also, but having a contact guy, having all guys that are 3 true outcomes guys, even if they're very good, means a lot of nights you're probably going to have 15 runs, and a lot of nights you're going to have 1 run and 18 strikeouts and some walks. Having some diversity among these guys, a guy that's a contact hitter, I'm going to contend, not a power hitter. Josh Naylor, not a power hitter. Now, I hope he comes into Seattle and gets lucky on some balls, changes his approach a little bit, realizes he's hitting in a pitcher's park and adds some bat speed that I think he does have capacity for, and knocks some home runs out. That'd be amazing. But as he sits right now, I would not expect Josh Naylor in Seattle to be a big-time power hitter. Where did I was like getting to a point and then I lost it. Oh boy. It's the morning. I'm trying to not complain about being tired on this podcast, but I do have 2 children and it's summer break, so the Mariners gave up Ashton Izzy, which I looked up the pronunciation of this. I have my doubts that it should be pronounced Izzy, but I think it's an Italian last name. I think, and he's ranked on the Fangraphs prospect list as higher than Brandon Garcia, which we're going to talk about Brandon Garcia in a second. I definitely think Izzy is the more interesting of the 2 prospects. He's 21 years old. He's got 4 pitches. They only show 3 here. Some of the scouting reports I saw said 4 pitches and good velocity. He has not been incredibly productive in the minors. Walk rate high, strikeout rate also high, ERA high. I don't necessarily believe in using things like minor league ERA might be the least reliable thing in the world, but all that being said, it's not like Izzy is lighting the world on fire. Could he, in a couple years, be a guy that you look back and go, shit, the Mariners should have known? But is there anyone in the world we trust more to know who is a pitching prospect than the Mariners at this point? 13th on the Mariners rankings for 2025, midseason rankings 2025, and the guys that are outside of the top 8, we'll go look at we'll get up to the actual list here. So here's the actual list. Colt Emerson, Cole Young, Harry Ford, Herangelo St. J, Johnny Farmello, Feldon Celestine. By the way, I had to take a break after saying Herangelo St. J. Too much brain power. I was like lagging after trying to remember how to pronounce that last name. Laz Montez, Ryan Sloan. To me, that's the top 8 that I don't want to trade out of if you don't have to. Especially none of the offensive players. Now, will it take one of those guys to get Gino Suarez? Possibly. Would I rather it was, Logan Evans? Would I rather it was one of the pitchers further down the list? Brandon Garcia, you see there, is number 15. 25-year-old lefty reliever. I'm not stressed about that. We can read the scouting report really quickly, but this to me is reminiscent of the trade that brought Randy Arozarena to Seattle, where it's like no blue chips, none even in the second tier, maybe none in the third tier. I would say in the Mariners prospect, I mean, you could even look here. These are 50, 45 plus, 45, and the guys that they traded are in this 40 plus category. Guys with upside, Garcia. The only frustration I have with that is I think he might have made an impact this year, and my preference would be to trade guys that are not going to have an impact this year, but not a big haul that they gave up. Does it cost more to get Gino Suarez? Almost certainly. I still would hope that it's not guys in that top 8. And I happen to have a soft spot for Ty Pete. Also, I'd like to see Ty Pete succeed. So in that top 9, let's say. Would I trade Logan Evans straight across for Gino Suarez? I'd certainly think about it. Michael Arroyo, I'd consider it. Anybody below that? Take them all. Maybe not take them all, but like take a handful of them. Take Sean Locklear. Take Tyler Locklear. Take Tyler Locklear, if only so that I never have to confuse him with Sean Locklear again. Okay? I actually think Tyler Locklear is the kind of guy that could go to Arizona in that hitter's ballpark and just absolutely mash. We'll look at Brandon Garcia very quickly. Garcia, by the way, made his big league debut the other day, and while he was not super productive, I do think there was a very strong chance that he could have made an impact this season. So Garcia, fastball slider guy, changeup cutter, both rated at below average. Changeup in particular, well below average. Had a rough outing the first time out. Not indicative of what he would be in the future. But again, just not a guy that I'm stressed about the Mariners losing in this deal. So, who is Josh Naylor going to be? Here's my prediction. It's easy to see a guy who's 28 years old, who's hit for power last year, who's a bad defensive player but has some other skills that are really valuable at the plate, and go, this is the next Randy Arozarena trade. I don't know if people have been saying that yet. It's also made a week before the deadline, which I believe is when the Mariners made the Arozarena trade. They made it early. They were like, they shot the opening salvo in the trade, in the hot stove. And in that way, this is similar to the Randy Arozarena trade. But what I would say is the more similar actual player, productivity-wise, years of team control-wise, lack of defensive versatility and value-wise, is Justin Turner. So Naylor has been at 292, 360, 447. That's his triple slash line this year. And that falls in line with past seasons of his. He's walking a little bit more this year than in past years, but that's right in line. I would suspect T-Mobile Park brings that down to like 270, 340, 400. And that is very similar to Justin Turner. If you're happy, if you were happy with the Justin Turner trade, or if you would be happy with the equivalent of the Justin Turner trade, you should be thrilled about Josh Naylor. They gave up very little to get him, and I'm happy with that. Hopefully what this does is put some pressure on the Mariners to make a wise decision, whatever that decision is, with Donovan Solano, with Jorge Polanco, with Luke Raley, with Randy Arozarena. In a dream world, you could get Randy Arozarena in that DH spot. I don't think it's going to happen for a while. It upgrades the DH position and allows Luke Raley hopefully to move to the outfield and take some defensive reps away from Randy Arozarena, some defensive reps away from Dominic Canzone. Allows. We didn't even get to it. Naylor's a bad defensive first baseman. The Mariners, first base defense isn't something that is like it's not mission critical. It's not shortstop. It's not center field, but it is value. It does carry some value. And to the extent that it carries value, Josh Naylor's bad at it. Donovan Solano, bad at it. I think Luke Raley, let's look. I think Luke Raley, bad at first base. Let's see if I can get there quickly. Luke Raley he's been neutral defensively at first base in 163 innings, which is actually kind of surprising. He was worth -2 runs last year, -3 outs above average last year. Luke Raley, probably a bad first baseman. Donovan Solano, probably a bad first baseman. Josh Naylor, definitely a bad first baseman. Plays no other positions. To some degree, the Mariners have created just another clump of dudes at that position, and this guy adds to the clump. If you're going to add a guy to a clump, this is the kind of guy you want to add to a clump. I'll give you real quick. This is Justin Turner's Mariners tenure last year: 264, 363, 403. 190 plate appearances, 5 home runs, 10% strikeout rate, 18%, 10% walk rate, 18% strikeout rate. If you're happy with that from Josh Naylor, I'm happy with this trade. I'm happy with it. I just don't think it's going to meet the vibes. All right. Come see me do stand-up comedy, please. Casey McLean Comedy on Instagram is probably the easiest place. I'll be in Bremerton this weekend, Seattle next week. Come on out. Check me out. Thank you for listening. Bye.